entity. Our financial statements are audited every year by an independent third party, and of course our financial statements are open to the public at any particular time. So the answer is yes, but I think what the question that the folks are trying to get to is, we will reduce that tax on October 1st, 2018, and we will be using our ongoing tax support received to again fund our Vision 2020, which is designed to recruit physicians, develop facilities, and invest in information technology to advance our hospital into the next decade. So that's our commitment, and that's our plan.
I may have a little trouble reading this because my glasses don't work. We built this ESD with our election and our taxes. You are about to dismantle it with an MOV and the vote of 3 appointed people. Please give me your legal explanation for that.
Well, I think there's 2 assumptions that are going there. Number one, the first assumption is we're about to dismantle the ESD. That's a misnomer. That is not an accurate statement in any way, shape, or form. As you have seen, if you've seen the memorandum of understanding, I know that's publicly available to you. The ESD number 3 will remain in existence and in state. So the first portion of the question, which states we're dismantling ESD number 3, that is not accurate, and it's not true. ESD 3 will remain in existence. The board will continue to be operational there. So that first portion of the discussion is that's not what's going to happen. ESD 3 will remain in place. What was the second part of the question? Oh, what's the legal opinion of that? Yes. Oh, there's one other matter. The memorandum of understanding, I think, references one very important line. And it's very important, so you'll know that this issue will be addressed completely legally. Both entities will assign their legal counsel the task of memorializing this non-binding memorandum of understanding into official contract language at a date to be determined. So you don't have to worry about, Brian's legal thought about how this works out. Your ESD3 board has entered into a non-binding memorandum of understanding that has a specific clause that requires that document to receive legal review prior to actually becoming an official contract. So that's the answer to that question.
Let me add to that just a little bit. Basically, what we're trying to do is partner with ESD3. They're not going to go away. They're going to use their oversight to make sure we're doing the same job or as good or better job as we're doing right now. They're going to monitor our actions. So ESD3 will not go away. They're strictly contracting us to do some of the work, to help out some of the work. We think we have a more sustainable situation financially, and we can be a lot of aid and assistance in that area. But ESD3 will watch everything we do, okay? And they have the right to take it back if we're not doing a good job. So they will not go away. They will be our watchdogs, so to speak.
And building on that, and continuing to meet the obligation of providing you the care through contract as opposed to through direct service. So same level of obligation to you in the ESD3.
Since your EMS director has not yet been chosen, how are you able to accurately or even closely budget expenses, plan for equipment, locations, etc.?
We have had a large amount of study and review on this. We have prepared a number of budgets from the existing services. Not every service participated in that process, but the services that did participate gave us healthy financial information related to their current operating expenses and operating revenues. That became one foundation of the budget. We also received comparative information from other facilities. We also had information received from Atascosa County related to their $1.8 million budget. We were able to use some of that information in the development of our budget. But ultimately, we were able to develop a budget that is operationally sound, operationally valid, but certainly is within the realm of tolerance of the existing services and other services across the state of Texas.
Basically, we know what an ambulance costs. We know how many we have available. We rest of them within the budget. We have 3 locations that are pretty much nailed down as far as where they're gonna be housed. We have options on more, so it remains to be seen which is gonna be the best option, but a lot of planning, a lot of thought, a lot of investigation has gone into this, so a lot of these things, we haven't pulled the trigger on yet because we're still looking at March 11th. But once March 11th takes place and I feel the citizens will vote against the rollback, then we can move forward with the balance of this plan. You can't execute until you know that's what's going to happen. But after March, the plans are in place, the locations are in place. We know where the ambulances are. We know what the cost is. We know what the cost of hiring staff is. Now, all of those details have been worked out. So it's just a matter of after March 11th executing the plan.
The reality is this is what the hospital does every day. You know, we develop actions, we develop strategies, and we work through the process of validating the budgets and executing the plans. And that's what we're doing here. It's no different than what we do in the radiology department, in the nursing department, in other portions of our hospital. It's no different than how we developed a clinic system that now serves 60,000 patients a year.
Okay. I've noticed the people who encouraged me to sign the rollback petition are now offering their own EMS plan. Has my signing the rollback petition been used to endorse their EMS plan? What do you know about their plan? How will it be funded? Will alternative plans require funding throughout higher permanent taxes?
Well, we'll dive into this.
Okay.
So, there was a petition that was filed to begin the process of rolling back the tax, the 3-cent tax for 2 years, an effort to reduce that tax of 3 cents for 2 years, going away on October 1st, 2019. As a subset of that, a strategic planning group, an alternate strategic planning group, was loosely formed. You probably read about that in the newspaper. You may have seen an article about a strategic planning group preparing an alternate plan. We did hear a presentation at the last ESD3 meeting from the spokesperson for that group, a gentleman by the name of Carter Thomas. And they had made a commitment to Judge Jackson that on February 27th they would present some type of alternate plan at the commission on Monday, February 27th. But what Mr. Thomas described in his comments to ESD3, that's on video on the Wilson County News, so I won't go into a lot of detail on that. I'll let his comments speak for himself. But they are proposing a slower approach to this. They're proposing the potential development of what he calls a future funding source. We're not aware of what that means, a future funding source. There's been contemplation of the development of a countywide ESD, which would be able to tax at 10 cents per $100 for forever. That's one of the discussions that I believe Mr. Thomas mentioned in his video comments to ESD3. But we're very eager to hear the elements of that plan that will be presented on February 27th at the Commissioner's Court. That's just Monday. But I think that what has certainly developed out over time is you can see with both our actions and our execution, we're very close to the steps to achieve a countywide EMS with a 3-cent tax for 2 years that's been committed that it will go away after October 18th. It's not clear either the timing of the other group's plan or the funding mechanism of the other group's plan at this point. Larry, would you like to add to that?
All I would say is we haven't seen it. Don't know what's in it. I have been told by several people that the hospital is part of it, but I have no idea what that part is. We haven't seen anything. Haven't shared anything with us. I guess we'll find out on Monday, just like the Commissioner's Court will.
Are there currently non-licensed EMS responders operating in Wilson County?
I can't answer that question, but if you have an interest in that, I know there's a database of Texas licenses that's available for everyone to go look at.
Will the CMMC EMS service be providing only emergency service or non-emergency transport service also?
That's another great question. The foundation of our service will be based on 9/11 service. That's what we know our county needs is 9/11 EMS service. But there is an equally desperate need across our county that is not being met. Medical transports from our hospital to San Antonio. Sometimes at our facility, patients are waiting more than they should to receive an ambulance to take them to San Antonio. And also the multiple nursing homes across the community, including the VA home in Floresville, has cited 3, 4, 5, 6 hour wait times to have an ambulance for simple transport to medical facilities. So the answer is yes. We will be providing EMS service as well as transport service to our county.
How can Stockdale ESD3 get back on its feet if Conley fails in its provision of services to Stockdale? Our ESD taxes cannot be raised fast enough to get back up to par quickly.
I'm not really sure exactly how to answer that question because I think that the supposition is that ESD3 would not be able to resume its tax base. I suppose that if there was some type of catastrophic failure of the Conley system, the taxpayers would support ESD3 renewing its service. But here's the real issue. I've heard this concern many times over. What happens if Conley doesn't succeed? What happens if something goes bad? What happens if Conley doesn't, if the conditions are so horrible that Conley can't run a good ambulance service because of financial conditions or otherwise? My comment to that, and I really would like to encourage you to think about this very deeply, very deeply. No matter which side of the debate you're on, this is the item that I'd like you to consider very deeply. People are saying, what if Conley fails? What if it's financially not viable for Conley to maintain it? I'd like you to think about this very deeply. The economic conditions that would cause Conley to not succeed at running this ambulance service, those same economic conditions would destroy the existing small services that exist across Wilson County. So the idea of saying to Conley, with $22 million in assets and the ability to navigate this, well, if it's not financially viable and you fail at it, what's going to happen? I really believe, folks, that even though no matter which side of the argument you're on this, I really believe that the question to ask is if financial pressures, if reimbursement declines, if community growth, if failures in equipment, capital replacement, if those things were to happen to the existing services today, how would we recover them? That to me is a much more timely and important question, and I think is really the whole reason why this has developed out over time, is that the financial stability, as well as in some cases the license stability of the existing services is just not there. It's a more fragile system than the average citizen currently believes. So that's my answer.
Yeah, we currently have a memorandum of understanding with ESD3, and that is basic ideas that we agree on. That's not a hard cast in stone decision. Those things will be worked out, and I think to everybody's satisfaction. Okay. We do not plan to fail. I think the financing, the dollars are there to guarantee that we can run a good system. But when we hammer out the final deal with ESD3, there will be assurances in that arrangement that should something catastrophic happen, that they're not going to be left on the back.
One question.
Could Connolly fail for other reasons or sell to another hospital? I mean, it wouldn't have to be a catastrophic happening. It could be because, I know you're doing great and I congratulate you that the hospital's doing so great, but that doesn't go on forever and ever. So what happens if Connolly goes away for another reason? I mean, you're saying
acquired by another medical operator. They contracted with your firm, or if they go to a new firm that doesn't want to be involved in spine.
I've been a healthcare CEO for over 12 years, and certainly in our industry, mergers, acquisitions, the growth of health systems, that is not an uncommon thing. But I'm intimately aware of how those transactions take place, and if in the event those transactions would ever take place, which are now currently not anywhere near the discussion point in any way, shape, or form. There's no reason for that type of thing to happen in the near or even mid or even distant future at this point. But those types of discussions really require the local provider and the health system to sit down and say, how does this work? And I know this board and this community would say EMS is very important to the ongoing provision of healthcare services. So that would be my thought process in how that would happen.
Ronnie, do you want to address that?
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
I'm Ronnie Eckel, and I represent Precinct 2. And I've been on the board now for 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Those discussions were had back in 2010, 2011. Sue, you were on board at that time. The Methodist Hospital came to Floresville and made a presentation. The Baptist come? I think maybe Baptist came as well. But what happens in those situations is they come to these small rural hospitals and cherry pick. They take all the profitable patients out of the county, take them to the Methodist or Baptist Hospital in San Antonio, and they leave the local hospital with those patients that they don't want. And we rejected those discussions right off the bat. So we feel like it is important that this hospital remain viable. It is profitable, it is viable. We have a growing clinic system. We are able to take care of the people in this county. We have plans to take care of all the people through our growing clinic system. And to sell this hospital, the people's hospital, our hospital, to an outside corporation, and that's what Methodist is, that's what Baptist is. They're all privately owned corporations, they're not owned by the churches. Would just be a betrayal of the people, because they would shut these clinic systems down immediately. The only thing they want is for all of us to continue to go to San Antonio to use their clinics and their doctors and their specialists. They don't like what we're doing, but they respect what we're doing, and as long as we remain profitable and growing and viable, there's no way they can come in and compete with us. They would love to have us, but we, as the people's representatives, cannot let that happen. We're elected to do better than that.
I can see you have something you want to say.
As a kind of in conjunction with that question, I've recently seen 2 counties in North Texas, much more populated with much more experienced EMS, hospital-based EMS providers, literally pull out with almost no notice. So should October 1st arise and y'all aren't prepared to run EMS, is there a contingency plan if Stockdale and Eagle Creek are already prepared to shut down and y'all aren't prepared to run? Because ETMC pulled out of Kaufman and Ennis counties with almost no notice. And they're both hospital-based systems. The hospitals are doing fine, but their EMS has collapsed actually in 3 areas in the past 9 months.
Well, I can't speak to what those communities have done, but our commitment is to be ready October 1st, 2017, and I feel with the progress we've made on our plan, we're well on our way to achieve that.
You know, quite honestly, we could what if forever. And no nobody knows what's gonna happen next year, or 5 years, or 10 years down the road. If the meteorite lands in the middle of Wilson County and everybody's wiped out, that's a what if also. But those are things that are very remote. This is a solid plan with solid financing, backed by a solid organization, and it's owned and controlled by the people through the vote. Okay? If Methodist comes in and take us over, it's your decision. Whether it happens or not. So, we can what if forever. But right now, we've got a solid plan that's financed in a solid way to get countywide, state-of-the-art EMS service to everybody at a very minimal cost. And that's what it's all about. Now, what's gonna happen in 2040, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But right now, everything is in place to do a good job for state-of-the-art EMS. And that's what we're doing now.
Okay, what do we got next?
Okay. Is the coverage plan basically 4 EMS units with 4 in reserve staffed by on-call personnel? Will they be required to live within a certain distance?
The plan is, 4 units with 4 folks in reserve. And the answer to the question, I'm not so much concerned about where people choose to live. That is less of my concern. My specific concern is their response time to the rigs and how that will be managed. That's number one. But number two, I think there's also, again, we mentioned this alternative plan of staffing a 5th rig that would help, again, moderate the demand across the county, and those are also portions of our plan.
All right. If I understand correctly, early voting is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. I can't make the 3/11 voting day, I'll be out of town. So my only option is to leave work early from San Antonio, an hour early. And if this is correct, why wasn't there any example, extended hours for voting?
I guess I can answer that question. We were following the guidelines of the Wilson County election officials to have those hours. Loretta, you're involved with that?
Right, no, what our counsel is from them is Monday through Friday, or whatever days we have set, which in this case was Wednesday through then March 7th for early voting. And the time is usually 8 to 5, so there's no mention of extended for the early voting. And of course, the voting day is from 7 to 7. So there was no mention of that to us.
The county sets the guidelines.
Yeah, she can also, or whoever can do the application by mail. So that's always an option.
How do you do that?
Absolutely. You just contact us,
Call Loretta at the hospital.
call me at the hospital, 1302. Absolutely. We can make it happen.
Sure, I can find time to do that tomorrow.
I'll give you your name and number tonight. And
Okay.
I'll be glad.
That would work
to
well.
Send it to you.
That'd work well.
What do we do with existing equipment, current costs for an airline flight? Do we pay for tax-free ESD3? Will we pay in addition to that tax? They're still not sure about how much we have to pay, I think.
That's my question. What happens with the equipment?
Okay. Well, in ESD3, we're under this memorandum of understanding that we will lease the equipment from ESD3. So that existing equipment will be leased to us to operate. That's how that will work in this community.
So that money comes back to ESD3?
Oh, that's a great point. Yes, that revenue for the lease dollars will go back to ESD3, and then will be applied against the loans that ESD3 has made again, for the purchase of that equipment.
The second part of it, generically, can you tell me what an airline flight costs now?
At the risk of staggering you, I believe it's $20,000, David. I mean, $20,000. To get the rotors running.
Suffice to say, Sharon will have you flown
We've
anywhere.
heard a lot of different numbers.
I'll
That-
drive you.
That is my question. What is the current
So it depends on where they take you, the community, what's done.
Stockdale to San Antonio?
It's 10 the second they land.
But you can pay that $75 membership for airline.
I would say a good ballpark number.
So you can pay the 75 and you're on your own.
Yeah.
David,
I say
about
25.
20 to 25,000.
$25,000 plus.
For an airline, for a helicopter ride.
It's closer to 40.
we got a freaking room of people that deal with this that nobody knows.
At what point in time will ESD 3 go away and the other ESDs that are strictly for EMS? I mean, if y'all take over the responsibility and the tax burden of it, at some point in time, those are gonna be unnecessary taxing entities. Where do they go?
Well, and I'll build that that's a very easy answer. We are going to have responsibility for the operations. The ESD will still maintain its obligation to the people for the insurance that the service is working. If there's a point in time when the people choose to say ESD 3 shall be disbanded, that is a vote, that is a referendum. That isn't something that this project would make happen. That would come from the people to say, hey, this is working so well after 2, 3, 5 years that the people say they're ready to consider a ballot effort to dissolve ESD 3.
Okay, so for a period of time, there's gonna be 2 taxes collected to take care of the EMS system countywide? Because and don't get me wrong, I'm for what y'all are trying to do. I'm just trying to get a picture in my mind that at some point in time, ESD 3 needs to stop collecting taxes. And Conley needs to collect whatever they need to run a 4, a 5, or a 6, or a 7 ambulance fleet to cover the county. And
Well, so I am bound to not commit ESD 3, so I want to be very cautious to not commit ESD 3. But if you truly were to think about the operational requirements that we would have after October 1st, 2017, the conversations amongst that group publicly in their meeting was that they would consider a significant tax decrease in conjunction with this effort. So I would love to be able to say on October 1st, 2017, it's going to go to but that's really the ESD 3's call. But I do think you probably have confidence in your representatives there that they'll make sure that they're not overtaxing you for services they're not providing.